Your erection isn't the whole story, and that's okay. What if everything you thought about your manhood after 60 was wrong? What if the one thing you've always believed defines you as a man no longer needs to? A 72-year-old man once looked me in the eye, his voice low and shaky. "Doc, I can't do what I used to do. Does that mean I'm not a man anymore?" That question hit me hard, because I've heard it more times than I can count. And it's a reflection of a quiet panic most men face, silently and alone. No one ever told us how to navigate this. Not our fathers, not our friends, not even most doctors. The truth no one talks about. For decades, we were taught one thing: performance is power. If you're not hard, you're not whole. But here's what you were never told, especially after 60. Your erection is no longer the whole story. And that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of evolution. This isn't the end of your sexuality. It's the beginning of a new chapter. What's happening to your body? As your body ages, changes happen. Blood flow slows, hormone levels shift, nerves don't fire like they used to. What used to happen instantly now takes a little more time. What once felt automatic now asks for intention. But this does not mean you're broken. It means you're adapting, and your body is asking you to pay attention. From pressure to presence. The world we grew up in praised stamina and silence. It left no room for softness, no space for vulnerability, no message that said it's okay to change. But it is. Now is the time to shift, from pressure to presence. Stop chasing who you used to be. Start discovering who you are right now. You still deserve pleasure. You still deserve intimacy. You still matter. You don't need a perfect erection to enjoy a meaningful connection. You don't need performance to feel like a man. You don't need to prove anything. Rethinking the goal. You can still feel release. You can still enjoy emotional closeness. You can still experience physical satisfaction, even if it shows up differently. Orgasm and erection are not the same thing. You can experience one without the other, and it can still be fulfilling. In fact, many men discover that with age, sex becomes less about performance and more about presence, connection, and intention. And that shift makes everything deeper, physically and emotionally. The message you were never told. Here's what I wish every man over 60 could hear, loud and clear. You are still a man. You are still whole. You are still capable of feeling, touching, enjoying. You are not broken. You are evolving. When you stop measuring yourself by who you were at 25 and start appreciating who you are now, you unlock a whole new way of connecting with yourself and your partner. This isn't about giving up. It's about tuning in. And that's not weakness. That's strength. Masturbation isn't just physical. It's emotional and neurological. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever touched yourself not out of lust, but out of loneliness? Not for pleasure, but for peace? You're not alone, and you're not weak for it. This is one of the biggest truths men over 60 were never told. Masturbation isn't just physical. It's emotional, it's neurological, and in many cases, it's survival. It's not just about sex. A retired veteran named Howard came into my office last year. He was in his late 70s, no major health complaints. But when he sat down, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I don't feel anything anymore." Not just sexually, emotionally. His life felt flat. He had no idea what was happening, and neither do most men. But when we started talking, I realized something crucial. He wasn't masturbating out of desire. He was doing it out of routine, out of numbness. It had become his way of falling asleep, his way of calming the silence, his way of avoiding feelings he didn't want to name. A hidden coping mechanism. That's the part no one talks about. For many older men, masturbation becomes less about sex and more about managing emotions we were never taught how to handle. Think about it. You grew up in a world that told you to man up, to bury your sadness, to bottle your stress, to never cry, never admit you're overwhelmed. So when the only time you truly let go is alone, behind a closed door, that moment becomes more than physical release. It becomes a lifeline, a quiet form of self-connection, a way to feel something in a world that may have grown too quiet. The science behind the feeling. Here's what's really happening when you touch yourself. Your body releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals. Dopamine, reward and motivation. Serotonin, mood stabilizer. Oxytocin, bonding and calm. Endorphins, natural pain relievers. These chemicals can help you sleep, reduce anxiety, boost your mood, bring a moment of peace in the middle of an emotionally chaotic day. That's not fantasy, that's biology. Your brain and body are wired to use sexual release as part of emotional regulation, especially in your 60s, 70s, and beyond, when grief, isolation, and life transitions can become daily realities. The warning, don't go numb. But here's the catch. When masturbation becomes mindless, a habit without presence, without meaning, it starts to lose its power. Howard was doing it every night, and yet he felt nothing. It had become mechanical, hollow, disconnected. That's what happens when we stop listening to what our body's really asking for. Not just release, but relief. Not just climax, but clarity. And the danger? You lose the ability to connect not just with others, but with yourself. From habit to healing. When masturbation is done consciously, with presence, intention, curiosity, it becomes something completely different. It becomes a moment of reflection, a space where you can breathe, relax, and return to yourself. It's no longer about escaping, it's about reclaiming. Touching your body doesn't have to be shameful. It can be sacred. It can be a quiet form of emotional honesty. Why this still matters at your age? Some men think, I'm too old for this to matter. They're wrong. Emotional regulation through mindful touch is still vital in later life. In fact, it might matter more than ever. Because as you age, the world often gives you fewer outlets, less touch, less intimacy, less emotional space. Masturbation, when done right, can help fill that void. It can restore not just function, but feeling. The takeaway. So here's what I want you to remember. Masturbation isn't a dirty word. It's not just a physical reflex. It's an emotional language that your body still speaks, even when the world has gone quiet. The goal isn't just release, it's reconnection. And you deserve that. No matter your age, no matter your circumstances, no matter what anyone else says, your body is still speaking. Are you ready to start listening? Use it or lose it. The truth your body has been trying to tell you. Let's cut straight to it. If you haven't been sexually active or haven't touched yourself in a long time, your body might be slowly forgetting how to respond. Not because you're broken, not because it's too late, but because you've gone quiet. And your body? It listens to that silence. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about aging and sexual health. The use it or lose it rule is real, but it's not what most men think. Something just doesn't work anymore. I remember Roy. He was 74, recently widowed, and just started dating again after more than a decade alone. But instead of excitement, he walked into my office ashamed. He said, "Doc, I finally found someone, but my body, it doesn't work anymore." You could hear the heartbreak in his voice. He thought he was broken. He thought he'd missed his window. He thought his manhood had expired. But here's what Roy didn't know, and what most men over 60 have never been told. It wasn't dysfunction, it was disuse. The science of sexual atrophy. Just like your muscles shrink when you stop using them, your sexual system degrades when you ignore it. Here's what's happening under the surface. Blood vessels in your penis stop circulating efficiently. Nerve endings begin to lose sensitivity. Tissues lose elasticity. Erections become harder to achieve and maintain, not from age, but from lack of engagement. And the worst part? No one tells you. You don't get an alert, you don't feel it all at once, it just fades, slowly, quietly, until one day it feels like it's gone. I thought it didn't matter anymore. Roy hadn't touched himself in years, not because he didn't want to, but because he thought it wasn't necessary. Life had dulled his desire. He assumed it was just a normal part of getting older. But his body had been adapting to the neglect. It wasn't shutting down because of age, it was adjusting to abandonment. The system was still there. It was just dormant, waiting. The good news, your body remembers. And here's the part that changes everything. Your body can remember. Your nerves, your blood vessels, your pleasure pathways, they're not gone. They just need a gentle reminder. With slow, consistent, pressure-free stimulation, Roy began to feel things again. Not overnight, not like he was 25. But slowly, steadily, his body began to wake up. His confidence returned. His hope returned. His connection to himself returned. And I've seen this happen again and again. This isn't just about sex. Let's be clear. This isn't about chasing youth or proving anything. It's about maintaining the health of your sexual systems, just like you would care for your heart, your joints, or your brain. When you stimulate your body regularly, with mindfulness, not pressure, you're promoting healthy blood flow, keeping tissues oxygenated and elastic, maintaining nerve responsiveness, supporting prostate health, preserving your sense of identity and emotional connection. And yes, it's worth doing even if you don't have a partner, especially if you don't, because this isn't about anyone else. This is about you. The silent risk of doing nothing. Too many men believe that once they're out of a relationship, once they lose interest, once it gets too complicated, it's fine to just stop altogether. But doing nothing comes with a cost. Disuse sends a message to your body. We're done here. And your body listens. Blood flow reduces. Tissues weaken. Sensations dull. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes to return. Not impossible, just harder. Gentle practice, lifelong benefit. You don't need to pressure yourself. You don't need to perform. You don't even need to have an orgasm every time. What matters is presence, gentle exploration, regular reminders to your body that it still matters. Because it does, and you do. Your sexual health doesn't have an expiration date. It has a maintenance plan. And the sooner you start honoring that, with care, not shame, the more alive and connected you'll feel. The bottom line. The biggest mistake older men make isn't physical, it's emotional. They assume that silence equals peace, but in reality, silence often equals slow decline. You don't have to let that happen. Not now, not ever. Start small, start softly, but start, because your body hasn't given up on you. It's just waiting for you to come back. The hidden cost of porn. Is it quietly rewiring your desire? What if the thing you've been using to feel more is actually the reason you feel less? That might sound strange, even uncomfortable, but it's a reality many older men are quietly discovering. Porn might be numbing your senses. Not all at once, and not in a dramatic way, but gradually, silently, and deeply. Let's be honest. Porn has become a private part of many men's routines. It's easy, it's accessible, it doesn't ask anything from you. But what no one warned you about is how it changes your brain. I still do it, but I feel nothing. I once sat across from Ernest, a 68-year-old widower. He still masturbated regularly, but he looked at me and said, "I feel disconnected, like nothing really reaches me anymore." He wasn't talking about technique, he wasn't talking about aging, he was talking about feeling. He couldn't figure it out. His desire was there in theory, but not in experience. It was like his body was present, but his emotions weren't. Sound familiar? What porn really does to your brain. Here's what most men don't know. Long-term porn use rewires your nervous system. Porn delivers a highly concentrated form of stimulation. Quick cuts, extreme visuals, endless novelty. And every time you watch it, your brain gets flooded with dopamine, your internal reward chemical. Over time, your brain adapts. It builds tolerance. It stops responding to subtle, slower, real-life cues. Why? Because they don't hit as hard. Eventually, your body starts waiting for the next extreme hit instead of responding to natural human touch. And that's how real intimacy begins to fade, not because it's gone, but because your brain has been trained to look elsewhere. The quiet drift. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a switch flips. It's more like a slow fade. You feel a little less sensitive, a little more disconnected. Real touch feels dull. Your imagination becomes quiet. Your emotions flatten. Your desire shifts away from people toward pixels. And here's the hardest part. You don't even realize it's happening because it feels so familiar, so routine, so normal. But one day you wake up and wonder, why don't I feel anything anymore? You're not broken, you're overstimulated. Let's make one thing clear. You're not broken. Your desire isn't dead. Your system isn't beyond repair. It's just been overstimulated and undernourished. Think of your nervous system like a guitar. If you pluck the strings too hard, too fast, too often, eventually they go out of tune. What you need isn't shame. What you need is a reset. The path back to real connection. Ernest and I worked together for weeks, not with judgment, not with guilt, but with patience. He didn't stop everything overnight. He eased off the screen. He gave his brain space. He reintroduced imagination. He focused on touch, his breath, his senses, his body. And slowly, he began to feel again. He described it like coming out of a fog, like hearing music for the first time after months of static. That's the power of giving your nervous system a chance to recalibrate. Real touch, virtual noise. Here's what matters most. Your body craves real connection, not just visual stimulation, not performance, not pressure. What it wants is presence. When you step away from constant visual input, your nervous system begins to notice the little things again. The warmth of your own skin, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet buildup of sensation, the emotional tone that comes with genuine self-touch. These are the things that porn can't give you, but your body still remembers how to feel them, if you give it the chance. Final thought. Porn isn't evil, but it's not harmless either. And especially as you age, it can rob you of the very intimacy you're craving most. If you've been feeling disconnected, numb, or stuck in a loop, you're not alone, and you're not powerless. The solution isn't shame. It's awareness. It's slowing down. It's giving yourself permission to feel again, for real. Your capacity for pleasure, connection, and emotional depth is still alive. It just needs a little time and space to come home. Masturbation isn't shameful. It's a lifeline. Let's get something straight. Masturbation, especially in later life, is not something to be ashamed of. In fact, it might be one of the most important forms of self-care you still have. You've been told to hide it, ignore it, outgrow it. But here's the truth. Masturbation isn't just a leftover habit from your youth. It's a lifeline. And for many men, especially over 60, it's one of the last ways to stay physically alive, emotionally grounded, and connected to who they are. Am I still allowed to touch myself? I remember Walter, 75 years old, polite, quiet, respectful. At the end of a routine checkup, he leaned in, lowered his voice, and asked, "Doctor, is it still okay for someone like me to touch myself?" That question, it stayed with me. Not because it was strange, but because it was so common. So many men feel embarrassed even asking. They've spent years, even decades, believing that sexuality has an expiration date, that at a certain age, they're no longer allowed to feel desire or act on it. And that's a lie, a painful, unnecessary lie. Why it still matters, especially now. Masturbation, when done mindfully, can support your health in ways that go far beyond pleasure. Physically, it encourages blood flow to your pelvic region, keeps the tissues and muscles engaged, supports healthy prostate function by clearing fluid buildup, releases powerful neurochemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These brain chemicals are natural mood boosters. They lower stress, help you sleep, ease anxiety, bring you back into your body when life feels heavy. But beyond biology, there's something even more powerful: connection to self and identity. For many men, masturbation becomes a reminder that you're still a man, you're still capable of feeling, you're still allowed to experience joy, connection, and release. This isn't about chasing your 20s. This is about reclaiming your dignity in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s. We live in a world that teaches older men to shrink, to disappear, to stop feeling and stop touching. But the truth is, desire doesn't retire. It just quiets down. And if you don't listen to it, it turns into something else entirely: loneliness, numbness, even depression. It's not about youth. It's about worth. Walter's wife had passed 6 years earlier. In all that time, he hadn't touched himself once. He believed that part of his life was over, that it would somehow be disrespectful to keep caring for his own needs. But here's what happened when he gave himself permission to reconnect. His mood lifted, his sleep improved, he smiled more, and for the first time in years, he felt like himself again. He wasn't trying to relive his youth. He was rebuilding a sense of self-respect, one quiet, intentional moment at a time. A return, not an escape. That's what masturbation can be in later life. Not an escape from loneliness, but a return to self. Not a sign of weakness, but a signal of life. It reminds you that you are still here, still human, still deserving of touch, of pleasure, of peace. This isn't about being dirty. It's about being alive. Your age doesn't disqualify you. You're not invisible. You're not done. And you are absolutely not too old to feel, to enjoy, to connect. So the next time someone tells you that masturbation is a thing of the past, remember this: it's not a leftover from your youth. It's a gift for your future. Now I want to hear from you. Which part of this message spoke to you the most? Was it the science, the emotional side, or just the quiet reminder that you're still allowed to feel? Let me know in the comments below. If this resonated with you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and hit subscribe for more honest, age-specific health conversations made just for men like you. You deserve clarity. You deserve connection. And most of all, you deserve to feel alive again.